Today, it is harder than ever to avoid distractions. There are cell phones buzzing, messages, email, all kinds of things that come in and distract us. And there's all these things that are hitting our dopamine receptors and making us want to go and look for distraction. So what I did today is I put together some of the top things that I use to eliminate distractions. You can use all of these things to make it so that you're going to be a lot more productive and focus on what you're trying to do. So the very first thing, and this one is pretty obvious and pretty basic, is to turn off or get rid of your cell phone. Get your phone out of the room where you're working. You definitely should turn on Do Not Disturb, but it's better if you just take it away. If you just take it, put it somewhere where you won't be tempted. Environmental control is a very important thing in regards to willpower and success. So just turn off your phone. Don't just put it on silence. Get it out of sight, out of mind, where you can't even see it. You can even lock it away somewhere. That's the first thing that you're gonna do, all right? The second one is to not check email until you're ready to answer email, right? So when you look at a lot of the studies on productivity and distractions, you find that most people, if they track their time, that they'll find that they check emails as much as once every 10 minutes. Some people have habits where they check emails once a minute. They're just constantly refreshing their phone, or they're constantly refreshing their browser, or they have the tab open and they're just looking at it every time an email comes in. You do not want to do this. This is going to hurt you. It doesn't feel like it's much, but it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. So do not do this. Instead, don't check your email until you're ready to answer it. This is something that I implement, that I try to do. I don't always do it perfectly, but when I do, I am a lot more focused and I get a lot more work done. I need to re-implement that habit. Some of these things you're just gonna have to keep on training yourself on, or maybe you focus on one of these things each week and you grow on that. In fact, what I recommend is that you don't even think about things that you're not gonna act on. It's a waste of time, it's stressful. The information that you don't utilize is wasteful information and it harms you. This is something important principle in life to know. The next one is that you let people know you're focusing. If you're at work, working in the cubicle, put a sign outside your cubicle that says, I'm focusing right now. This is the time frame. Talk to your boss. Tell them, hey, I spend a certain amount of time. I do Pomodoro technique or whatever it is, focusing. So I'm just letting you know. I'm letting you know what my focus hours are. Implement that. Tell your coworkers, right? If you're at a house, tell your family, tell your friends to not disturb you during a certain period of time. It seems like pretty obvious advice, but I don't know how many people complain to me when I'm coaching them about the distractions and how people interrupt them all the time. And they're really frustrated. And it's their own fault because they're putting expectation on people that they're gonna not interrupt them when people don't even know it. If you set guidelines and set some boundaries, then you're gonna be able to focus a lot more. The next one is to block out time on your calendar. So actually block out focus time. I was a little resistant to this at first, but it makes a lot of sense. Block out the time and say, all right, during this time, I am going to work on just deep work, on just focused work. And so you have it scheduled. So you don't have other things that are going to interrupt you. You don't have other meetings or calls or anything. And you know that you're going to just focus for this period of time. Sometimes it might be helpful to go somewhere and do this where you can't have any kind of distraction. You can't, have anything that's going to stop you. Just have what you need to get the work done. Another one is to get into this habit of sitting down to work and only working, right? So wherever you're at, wherever environment you're gonna have, don't have a situation where you sit down and you start checking email, you start watching YouTube videos, you start goofing off or doing whatever it is before you get down to work. When you sit down at the desk, immediately start doing work. Train yourself into that habit. That's gonna help keep these distractions out of the way, because what we usually train ourselves is to distract ourselves before we actually work. And that is gonna help us to distract ourselves while we're working. But if we train our brain and we say, okay, when you sit down at this desk, you work until the work is done. That's how it goes. That's gonna help you to not get distracted. Another one really important is to have a plan. Put things on paper so you don't worry about them and get distracted, right? It doesn't have to be on paper, some kind of digital format, something to capture ideas, right? If you don't have a plan, what's gonna happen is you're gonna look for things that are easy for your mind to solve or to do, which is gonna be email, it's gonna be checking messages, checking Instagram, all of this stuff. Instead, if you have a plan, then you know what to do. So if you want to avoid being distracted, have some kind of a plan that you know exactly what steps that you need to execute and start executing those steps, right? If you don't have a plan, your brain is going to say, okay, what's the easiest thing I can do? And it's going to go to YouTube. It's going to go to Facebook. It's going to go to Instagram, to your email, because that's the easiest thing to do. But if you have a plan and it's like, okay, I need to do this task and this task and this task, it's much easier to not be distracted. I'm going to give you one final tip, but before I do, and this one's critical, if you haven't already, and if you want some help with this, if you're a Bulldog Mindset member, click down below if you're not, but join us in the Bulldog Mindset membership, because I have a ton of information and videos on productivity and focus and accountability, and you get accountability in there, right? There is a group of people that are also working on their goals in life and trying to prove themselves, trying to make more money, build businesses, become financially free, trying to get in shape and do all these things. So it's really difficult to do this in isolation, right? I'm telling you this right now. We're having this one video. You're probably going to forget about this tomorrow. Join a community, a member group of people that have this mindset. They're going to remind you of this every day. They're going to keep you on this track of focusing, because all these ideas seem like good ideas, but if you don't execute on them, it doesn't matter. And so you need some accountability. You need a daily reminder, a weekly reminder to focus on these things. So anyway, that's my little plug. Check out the link down below if you want to join us and get on there. So the last thing I'm going to tell you, which is probably the most critical thing about this, is that you need to figure out when you fail, why you failed. So if your distraction, if your focus got broken, if you got distracted, what you need to do is you need to every day find out, go to the root cause and say, what caused this? What was it that caused me to become distracted? Where was the failure point? So maybe it was, a common one is that you didn't have your phone in another room. So a message came in, it was an urgent message. So you responded to that and that sidetracked you. Well, if you had your phone in the other room, if you didn't have access to your phone, even if it was an urgent message, you wouldn't have known about it. And so you wouldn't have gotten on that path, right? Now again, maybe you have some kind of critical emergency, but most things can wait. Most things can wait an hour, or maybe you can implement another system where someone can, call you if there is an emergency, or they can get a hold of you in some other way. The point is that you need to figure out, why did you fail? What distracted you? If you checked your email, why did you go and spend hours in your email or keep checking your email even though you're on this focused non-distraction plan? Maybe it was because it was available to you. Maybe because you had the Chrome tab open, and it's as simple as closing that Chrome tab. But what you really want to do is every time that you make a mistake, every time you fail and you get distracted, you need to figure out what caused it and how can I prevent that from ever happening again. That's probably the best tip that I can give you. And if you start doing that and start implementing that, you will start to develop your own systems and your own rules, just like I have these rules, that will prevent you from getting distracted. Let me know what other tips that you have for eliminating distractions. If you have them, or a comment down below. And make sure you give a thumbs up on the video if you like this, if you found this